I would like to call this meeting to order. Welcome to all, and thank you for coming out to tonight's meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Commissioner Nancy Golden is not here. Commissioner Sean Hutchinson?
Present.
Commissioner Bill Lewis?
Present.
Commissioner Jay Outluski?
Present.
Commissioner Jeff Nelson?
Present.
Commissioner Mitchell Bolnick is not here yet, and I am Commissioner Lee Strickman. This commission is composed of Peoria citizens who have been appointed by the City Council to serve on the commission as a civic responsibility without compensation. Our duty is to study and review planning and zoning issues within the City of Peoria and then forward our recommendations to the City Council. All hearings are conducted in accordance with the rules for procedure and Robert's Rules of Order. Each case will be called in the order in which it appears on the agenda unless otherwise announced during the meeting. In the interest of maintaining a fair and efficient hearing, the Commission adheres to the following steps. Chairperson calls the case, staff gives a brief report and recommendation, applicant gives a presentation, opposition and support gives testimony, generally limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Applicant may give a rebuttal, commission discussion and decision. Anyone wishing to speak must complete a speaker's request form and hand it to the planning assistant on my left. Please be as brief as possible and do not repeat statements already made by others. Anyone wishing to protest the decision of a commission public hearing item must request a second public hearing before the City Council. The request must be submitted in writing to the Planning and Community Development Department within 10 days after the Commission's hearing. All Commission recommendations on public hearing items move forward to a regular City Council meeting. The City Council will then act on the recommendation of the Commission. They may concur with the decision, modify it, or overturn it. We welcome citizens' comments, and as fellow citizens of Peoria, we thank you in advance for your participation. This is the final call to submit speaker request forms. If anyone wishes to speak, please fill out a speaker request form and provide it to the staff seated to the left at the end of the dais. The consent agenda is for items that are routine in nature, and tonight it consists of 2 items. 1C is the disposition of absence, and that's the discussion and possible action to approve and excuse the absences of Chair Lee Strickman and Commissioner Jay Outluski from the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting held on April 7th, 2016. 2C is the minutes, discussion and possible action to approve the minutes of the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting held on April 7th. Do any commissioners have any questions or comments? Do I have a motion?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Lewis.
I move for approval of the consent agenda as presented.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Nelson. Please vote. And that has passed. Before we move on to new business, I have just noticed that one of our commissioners has shown up. Commissioner Nancy Golden is now present. Thank you. Okay. The first agenda item under new business is 3R GA 15-0007, and that's the Terraza Center Minor General Plan Amendment. But we will also be hearing from staff report 4R Z15-0011, which is the Terraza Center rezoning. Staff, please present your report.
Thank you, Commissioner Strickman and members of the Commission. Good evening. My name is Sean Allen. I'm a senior planner with the Planning Division. The item before you tonight is located south of the southwest corner of 67th Avenue and Happy Valley Road, directly east of the CCV Church campus, and then directly west of the existing QT gas station, and there's a Superstar car wash just south of that. The project area is 23.43 acres The two requests, starting with the GPA 15-0006, is a minor general plan amendment change from estate residential to and low-density residential to mixed use. And the rezoning is Z15-0010, and that's a zone change from suburban ranch, known as SR-43, to planned area development, also otherwise known as PAD. The development concept is also displayed there, and it's a mixture of commercial, retail and restaurant type uses, possible urgent care, mixed with some office uses and an assisted living center facility. And in this slide, we look at the current conditions of both the land use and the zoning. On the left, the general land use surrounding this property to the north is low-density residential, which is a density that ranges from 2 to 5 units per acre. The estate residential to the south is 0 to 2 units per acre. And the current zoning on your right shows the SR43 that encompasses the project area, as well as the CCV campus to the west. And then we have the commercial corner to the east, where the QT station and car wash are. Across Happy Valley Road, we have an R16 single-family residential subdivision and park. And then to the east of 67th Avenue is the city of Phoenix. And we have some commercial where Fry's is located, as well as some subdivisions a little further south. The proposed land use, again, is a mixed-use designation. This designation promotes various uses. A mixed plan would demonstrate some of the following, which would be a compact development integrating various uses in the same area. It would be pedestrian-oriented. It would be functional, physical, and spatial integration of the uses, and the site elements would be administered. It would also have an architectural and thematic integration. The justification for this change is that it's near two major arterial corridors, and that the traffic volumes would be commensurate with this type of development, and that it's also adjacent to the commercial that's already there, and then the very large campus to the west. The proposed zoning of planned area development, PADs are intended to provide alternatives to conventional zoning. The proposal that's before us tonight is achieving the following goals. It's to enhance the public health, safety, and general welfare as Peoria City grows. It's compatible and stable development in harmony with the area that it's in. It encourages more creative approaches and utilization of the land as well. And there's other stipulations with the PAD zoning, but these are the ones that closely relate to this project. The benefits of this change would be it's complementary to the existing land uses. The proposed uses will help support those existing commercial uses. And then the proposed PAD standards have also been tailored for the neighborhood compatibility, addressing some of those concerns. The Terraza Center summary, basically starting with access, we have the first main access off Happy Valley Road. You can see there on the north end of the project area. And then there's also one already in existence. That's the main drive for the CCV Church campus off 67th Avenue. That would also be utilized. In review and designing the interior circulation for this project, we also had the applicant add a central drive that acts as a traffic spine for the traffic within to collect and go through the project from north to south. We also have a breakdown of uses here. You could see that from the color scheme that's on the slide that you have commercial retail on the north end of the project area. On the 67th Avenue corridor side, you have the more pink color, which is the office and commercial combined with a possible medical or urgent care. And then sort of centralized to the west of the project area is the assisted living center that they're proposing to do. And then in the light blue color is just to represent the part of the CCV campus that you can see there. Some additional amenities that are included in the project is there's going to be a nice connection to the existing prayer trail, which is located directly west of the project. If you can recall the area, there's a little hill there where the CCV has a trail. And on this next slide, it illustrates how they're going to connect that trail. And you can see from the bold black line, that represents the new trail, the portion that's going to be installed. And on the southeast portion of the slide, you can see where the connection is to the project. There'll be a pedestrian gate there for people to come out and utilize that trail, and then it'll wrap around the hill and join the west side of the campus where there's existing sidewalk already. So both patrons of the CCV Church and this new project can take advantage of that new amenity. This slide just represents the landscaping that's going to be installed within the project area itself, represented in green. The minimum requirement is to meet at least 20% of the project area, which they have done. And then you can see at both main entries, there's going to be some decorative pavers to help enhance those entries. Going over quickly the development standards for this project. The maximum height that the applicant wishes to go with is 30 feet. And then you have your building setbacks, which are fairly standard, as well as your minimum landscape setbacks. And they have some stipulations for accessory buildings. And then at the very bottom is a reference to that trail that they're putting in, and they gave an actual figure for what that represents. This is just an illustration of the perimeter wall that's going to be around the assisted living center. This would be on the north and the east and south ends, and then they'll have more of a view fence on the west side that faces the prayer trail and hill. And these are, the next few slides are just elevations. This is the conceptual elevations for the office on 67th Avenue. And these next couple slides are illustrations of the assisted living center. And then the city puts out notification to the public, and notice hearing postcards were mailed to residents within 600 feet and the HOAs within a mile. And the site was also posted in accordance with city requirements. There was a neighborhood meeting that was held on December 2nd of last year, and that was held at the CCV campus in one of their large buildings there, the Palo Verde room. And about 20 people from the general public registered their names. There might have been more, but that's what we had. And they voiced concerns mainly about traffic on 67th and the general area, and about limiting the height of buildings on the south end of the project. There was one letter of opposition that was received by email, and what I've done is outline the concerns on the left, 1, 2, 3, and then those appropriate responses directly to the right. First concern was, again, that no two-story buildings on that south end of the project. And we feel like the 30 feet represents is a good mitigation for that concern. Most homes tend to be between 30 and 35 feet tall. Number two, about the increased traffic and infrastructure on 67th Avenue, there was also mention of concern with flooding. And the developer is required to install a traffic signal at that main entry off 67th that is in existence right now for the church campus. New right-of-way improvements, what that means is curb gutter sidewalk have been installed there on that side of the road. And then as far as the flooding goes, we have been informed that a CIP project is underway to address the flooding issues, not just in this area, but the whole district, which will include this area as well. Third is concern about property values, and that's always a concern, but we don't measure that. Staff recommends approval of case GPA 15-007 to the City Council based on the findings in the staff report, and same with case Z 15-0011 to the City Council, subject again to those conditions listed in the staff report. And with that, open it up for any questions.
Do any commissioners have any questions of staff? Commissioner Lewis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just have one question. It's my annual question about 67th Avenue. Any idea on the timetable for the improvement for 67th Avenue?
Commissioner Lewis, members of the commission, the CIP project is actually underway, so they're in the study phase right now. I spoke with the CIP division, the engineering department, and they're making progress toward, I think they're in traffic study now. They will be in drainage study, and then I believe in FY 18 and 19 they will start some local construction, some improvements for kind of immediate fixes for the drainage issue. And then after that, I believe in FY 19 or 20, we're probably looking at a major construction on 67th Avenue, which will improve both traffic and the drainage.
Thank you.
Commissioner Nelson.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Since height was raised as a potential issue, I'm curious how the height of this proposed project compares to the CCV church immediately to the west of this project. Is it shorter than those buildings? Is it a comparable? Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong planner, sorry. Comparable, shorter, taller? Can you give me some perspective? Do we know?
Commissioner Nelson, thank you. The question is the buildings proposed for that south portion of the project comparable to the CCV buildings? And I think, I haven't looked at every building on the campus, okay, but there are some buildings that are quite tall. Some of the bigger buildings, I know the building we had the meeting in for the neighborhood meeting was fairly tall, it seemed. So to me, a max of 30 feet for all buildings is very reasonable for this type of a project. So,
Commissioner Nelson, if I may, and members of the commission, also another thing to point out too is our standard commercial zoning districts typically allow a height of 48 feet. So 30 feet is more consistent with our local commercial neighborhood districts that abut residential neighborhoods. So it provides for the height to be limited. And usually with a commercial application, you're looking at one-story building anyway.
Okay, before I take the next person, I wanted to welcome Commissioner Mitchell-Bolnick. He has shown up. Thank you. That's okay. Okay, and now, Commissioner Golden, you have some questions?
I live out that way, so I go by CCV all the time. And I do think CCV is a good neighbor, and I think they do lots of good things to try to mitigate some of the problems where they have traffic. And I know it's difficult to get that number of people in and out in a small period of time. But for those of us who don't go to CCV, and we come that way on Saturday afternoons at 4 o'clock or Sunday morning, almost any time, it's pretty crowded. And I don't really understand why a light at the CCV entrance would help traffic. I mean, I actually think it would almost exacerbate the problem of the traffic, because the way CCV regulates that is they get people in as soon as they can, and so I'm not sure about that. But then I look at the what I believe would be those kinds of people who would be drawn to those new businesses, and they're not going to be coming at 4 o'clock in the Saturday afternoon. They're not going to be coming Sunday morning. So I feel like it's not going to, when the traffic is the worst, they're not going to be having people come in and out. Am I making the right assumptions?
Yes.
Commissioner Golden, yes. We have a representative from our traffic engineering group here tonight, if you'd like to have a little more information on that. But during the analysis of this application, there's been a lot of discussion about that. And this is really not believed to be a destination type use. So you're not going to be, the understanding is, as I understand it, is that they're not going to be generating more trips. It's the traffic that's already there would be stopping in to use these services and would continue on their way. So you're not bringing necessarily more traffic to the area. You are making a trip in and out of this site for the some of the convenience uses. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to go ahead and defer at this point to Jamal Rahimi from our traffic engineering group to hopefully explain better than I can.
Thank you.
Good evening, Jamal Rahimi, City Traffic Engineer. If I understood you correctly, you were wondering if the signal would help any of the CCV's traffic. Probably not much, and they're not interested in it really that much because they have their own traffic control. And the signal is not really their best means to empty their patrons during that very short period of time. The primary purpose of the signal is really to serve the proposed site traffic, because that location where a signal is proposed is the only place that you can make a safe left turn out of the site onto an arterial that carries 29,000 vehicles. So it's needed for that site. CCTV would be a secondary, potentially beneficiary of the signal, but not necessarily a primary beneficiary.
Well, I actually think it's a deterrent. I don't think it's an aid at all. But maybe I don't understand what the signal is supposed to be doing. I mean, the only thing that signal allows is for people to turn left. Isn't that right?
Primarily, yes.
Okay.
For a safe exit, making a left turn movement. And CCTV has had its own traffic control for a number of years, and they basically block a lane to let people in and out during their egress. So that's probably not going to change much, but this signal is not really to serve CCV.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Commissioner Lewski?
Thank you. First, a comment, I guess, on the height that we talked about is that, with the hill, with the 30-foot, and then the lower gas station, I think you're seeing that decline down to 67, so I don't see that as a problem. Question I have for you, and I guess perhaps you're probably best to answer, on the north side coming out, is there going to be a left turn curb cut there going on to Happy Valley?
Left out, no. Left in, yes.
Okay, so they can't come out of there, because that'd be a blind left turn for the most part with that curve.
Correct.
And then just to confirm, the light is going to be part of the CCV parking lot and this development, or just this development?
CCTV can use it.
Okay.
It's a joint use, whether they wish to do so or not. It's primarily for the site, but I'm sure some of the CCV patrons would choose to use it, probably.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Hutchinson?
What was the date on the capital improvement project on 67th Avenue again?
Commissioner Hutchinson, the study is underway now, I believe, and then it's going to be a multi-year project, so it's going to be, I believe, FY19 that you're going to see the actual construction for 67th Avenue.
And we don't have any idea of the scope of the project at this point because it's just under study right now?
I do not. The CIP division would have to answer that. It was approved, the funding was approved, but I do not, as in the planning department, have the access to the information.
Commissioner Hutchinson, in talking with engineers, it's supposed to be for the entire district that this is in. So it's quite a large area.
And just to add to, on that project, I know some of the principal concerns are draining and flooding issues that are south of Hatfield Road, and so that was a primary impetus for the CIP project to address those severe conditions during a rainstorm.
Nothing to, I'm sorry, Madam Chair. Nothing to alleviate the traffic in the area? No plans on somehow more lanes stacking another 67th Avenue on top? I don't know if anybody's been through that area recently, but.
Commissioner Hutchinson, I can try my best to respond, but I don't have any answers. Jamal, if you want to field that.
The design concept report that was prepared for this segment of the roadway for City of Phoenix in 2006 or 7 calls for 6 lanes of traffic and a raised median island. And the agreement is that currently Peoria owns this segment, but eventually it will go back to Phoenix. In order to do so, they would like to see the improvements before they accept the roadway. So the ultimate cross-section of this roadway will be 3 lanes, raised median, another 3 lanes.
Commissioner Lewis.
Just one follow-up to that then. I know we have Phoenix, Peoria, and then south of there, Glendale as part of the 67th Avenue roadway there. So how far will we take our CIP down to the Glendale border?
Pinnacle Peak, yes, Glendale.
And our CIP is going to do the improvements on 67th, and then Phoenix is going to take over the roadway again?
Correct.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes,
That's kind of what the agreement is now, right?
correct.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Golden?
I had a question about the open park space. Is that just open space? I mean, is that just desert landscaping, or is that actually a park?
Commissioner Golden, thank you. It's not actually a designated park. It's private area within the CCV campus that they are enhancing to expand the trail for the benefit of, I'm sure, their own patrons, but in conjunction with the development. And that way they have a connection to the gate that's to the assisted living center, and you have more people, benefiting from that amenity.
So you're saying the park open space is part of CCV?
Yes.
So it could become
Well,
parking lot?
it's not considered open space. It's just an amenity that's on their private land. It's not considered open space for this project necessarily, although that's what we would define it as because it's an amenity. Does that make sense?
It does. So it's not a wash, it could become anything.
Yeah, the general plan designation that we're going to with mixed use calls for a connection of public space. And that would be what the public generally uses. And if there's a chance to continue that, so to speak, perhaps that's the best way to look at this, is that's what we're doing here, is extending or expanding that public space.
And if they wanted to change that into some other designation, they'd have to come in and to visit with us? Okay. And if you have, with the open space and the limit to the height of the building, did that appease the people who live north of, live south of this development?
Commissioner Golden, thank you. I did speak with the person that communicated the letter of opposition, and they seemed to be okay with the fact that they were maximizing at 30 feet tall. So it wasn't the person who was at the neighborhood meeting and voiced that concern, but this person who sent the letter of opposition said she was speaking for the neighborhood, and I haven't heard any complaints since, so.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Bolnick?
I'm curious about the demographics of the assisted living. Is there any higher care levels? Is it just assisted living? Is it people that can come and go, or people that are mainly going to be there most of the time?
Commissioner Bolnick, all I can tell you that I know is that it's a 116-bed facility. The applicant's probably the best one to answer those detailed questions about how they're going to run that facility.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have opened the public hearing for 3R GA 15-0007. Is the applicant present? Yes. Do you wish to speak? Yes, please. Please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Brian Greathouse, 702 East Osborne Road. I'm here tonight representing Terraza Land and the CCV Church. We have a lot of different consultants and some members from the church here, and some other parties that are interested in a variety of parcels. They have them under contract to acquire, and they're proposing various developments within this mixed-use development. But I'd like to introduce first is Jerry Patton. He's the owner's representative, and if you have any questions for me that I can't answer, I'll probably have them come up here and try to answer some detailed questions about certain uses or architecture or assisted living operations, stuff like that. We appreciate Sean's thorough presentation on this site. We appreciate staff's recommendation of approval. We agree with all the stipulations as presented in your staff report, and we're excited about this opportunity. As you heard, Terraza Center is a approximately 23-acre mixed-use development, and it's located at the southwest corner of Happy Valley Road and 67th Avenue. The only reason why I bring that up again is because Happy Valley Road is a major connector that connects east and west from I-17 to 303. So it carries a lot of traffic, and it was designed to carry a lot of traffic. The same with 67th Avenue. That's a major arterial roadway. It's not at capacity yet. There's still capacity in it. We've done a traffic study, and the excess capacity on 67th Avenue can handle our additional trips. And we think the site makes a lot of sense at the southwest corner here. It's a development with high-quality architecture. The church is committed to only reputable and quality businesses on their property, because they have to live next to, they have to share the site, share the campus with these businesses. I put this exhibit up because I thought it was telling when I looked at it. I see a lot of Peoria residents with only opportunities to spend money at City of Phoenix developments. So the sales tax dollars are going to the City of Phoenix right now. This is a great opportunity for Peoria residents to spend money in Peoria that will go towards Peoria services. Earlier you saw this aerial with site plan overlay. We think this is a vibrant, attractive, mixed-use development. We think it's an appropriate transition from commercial uses on the north to some residential uses in the center, and some office and future medical, future commercial uses on the east side of it. Staff was very adamant about certain elements on the site plan, and we worked through a lot of different issues over the last few months. One was the internal circulation that runs through the site. That's all shaded in gray. That will provide great internal circulation to the variety of different businesses there, and keep some of the trips from going out onto the road and having to come back onto the site. Earlier, Commissioner Golden, you asked about landscaping within the assisted living facilities that was shown as green on that plan. This plan is showing some of those landscape features there. It's quite enhanced. There's a variety of trees and shrubs, and there's also, it doesn't show on this plan, but within the assisted living facility, there's also open space area. The architecture on the assisted living site that's known as Orchard Point, it's very attractive. They've built these sites. One's under construction just north of Bell Road on 67th Avenue. Another one's already constructed out in Surprise, and it looks like this. So it's going to be an attractive use on this mixed-use development. Once again, it'll be vibrant. The community members that are living here will be able to walk over to different businesses and medical facilities that are available within the same site. And to answer the question earlier about what type of demographics are within the, that will be housed within this development, there will be a component that's independent living. There will be a component that's assisted living with a variety of different care levels. And then there will be a memory care component. So conceivably, you could start as you get older and you want to move out of your single-family home, you could live in independent living for a while. Then you can move over to assisted living, and if you ever have to, hopefully you don't, but you could always move over to the memory care if you need those services as well. The Sonic restaurant that was mentioned earlier is also in for site plan review right now. It also has high-quality architecture. I don't think you see a lot of Sonic restaurants that are dressed up with masonry stone and articulation, both horizontally and vertically with the tower element. This has an outdoor dining area. It'll have a drive-through. It'll be a good place for families to walk over when they're done at service at the church, to walk down the prayer trail and come and have some fun with their family outside, eat a burger, some fries. Or people that are just driving by the area and don't want to go down to Bell Road, they can stop in here at the restaurant and grab a bite to eat. This exhibit's in the PAD document, and this will govern the vision of what the architecture will look like in the Terraza Center. To answer the question earlier about how tall is the tallest building, the tallest building within the church campus is 40 feet. So we're under what the tallest building is out there. We're also going to be governed, or all the uses will be governed by private CC&Rs that are in draft form, and all the parcel owners will be required to sign, and that'll give the church review of architecture before a final design is approved. So it'll go through the city's design review process. It'll go through the church's private design review process, all before it gets approved and constructed. So it has to go through a pretty onerous process. With respect to buffers, as you heard earlier, the site's buffered on the west side by an existing mountain. That mountain will remain. The prayer trail will remain a trail. On the north, it's bordered by a major parkway. On the east, it's bordered by a major arterial roadway. And on the south, there's a 350-foot buffer between the project limit and the nearest residential lot. There's also a 10-foot landscape setback prescribed in the PAD document, and there's an existing major transmission power, an SRP transmission line that runs through there. And there's some existing landscaping within the parking lot and within a little retention area on the south side of the church property. So there's a significant amount of buffer before you get from the commercial area down to the residential area, more than a football field. With respect to ingress, you heard earlier that off of Happy Valley, there's a left in, there's also a right in. With respect to 67th Avenue, there's a right in and a left in. Down at the signalized intersection that's squared off in green there, there's a left in and a right in, obviously, because those will be controlled movements. We expect traffic to be at its highest demand on this site during the AM and PM peak hours of the weekday. And as Commissioner Golden, you mentioned earlier, that doesn't match up with the highest peak times of the church. So we don't think that those two high peak times will conflict with each other. And during the church hours on Saturday and Sunday, this light will be operated much like the light over at the Terramar Elementary School off of Happy Valley. That light is operated by off-duty police officers who stand out there and are able to control movements. So it's a little safer than just a guy waving his hand, moving traffic through. There's also green lights and red lights and some other visual aids for people to know what to do. So in that regard, it could help traffic on the weekends during church hours. And one thing that wasn't mentioned earlier was some of the neighbors to the south complained about having to wait long times to turn left onto 67th Avenue to head north. This traffic signal will also create some gaps in the traffic, because right now they described it as a big freeway of people coming down the roadway, and they had to sit there too long. This will provide some additional gaps so that those folks that live south of this development will be able to turn out left. And these are your egress options heading out of the site. It's a right only out of Happy Valley. It's a right and left out on 67th Avenue at both locations. And there's also cross-access agreements that will be drafted both internal to the site, and there's already cross-access agreements in place with QT and the car wash, providing some additional options. Let's see, I want to answer some questions if I may. Well, I think they were all answered during my presentation. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to take any additional questions.
Hi. Thank you for answering most of the questions that we had. I just had a couple of additional ones. So I'm just curious. So the church is selling the property to the individual owners, yet they're imposing CC&Rs on these owners for property that the church no longer owns. I just make sure I'm understanding that. That seems curious to me.
Yes, that's exactly the structure, and that's quite common.
Is it?
Usually there's an private architectural committee that's formed to govern architecture on larger developments.
Like a homeowners association, is that what you're referring to? I'm talking on a commercial development, that seems kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's similar, but oftentimes when there is a larger commercial development,
Okay, but they're selling off all the property. They are not going to be doing any ground leases with any of these businesses. They're going to be literally transferring ownership of the property, correct, for all these different parcels?
I believe that's the desire, but you never know.
A question on if you could elaborate a little bit on the memory care unit. Are we talking about just patients with mild dementia, or are we talking about like a full-on Alzheimer's unit here where we could cause some security concerns if people wandered away from the unit, that kind of thing?
I'm going to defer to Mark Huey on that question.
You want me up there, or I can just answer from here?
Yes, please.
So my name is Mark Huey. I'm the local development partner for the assisted living. And we'll have 24 memory care units. The structure itself is all self-contained, so we have internal courtyards. It's card key access. And even now, as a partner in the Surprise project, I have to go in and they have to ring me in. So we control access, ingress and egress very carefully, so we don't have any of our memory patients or memory residents or other residents leaving on their own.
So you would have Alzheimer's patients there?
Correct, yes.
Correct, okay. Great, thank you very much for that, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A few years ago, this project was brought forth, and it was under the same name, same location, but looked completely different than it does today. There were community meetings, there were presentations that were done with an elaborate model, and explanations about what was going to be in there. It was going to be a mixed use of the way it was described to our community, because I live up there, was it was going to be upscale shopping, upscale restaurants, private residences above some of the businesses. As I recall, the model showed streets kind of winding through the project. It looked beautiful. It looked like a great amenity for our community up there. This is totally different. What happened to the original project?
I believe it was market. The market in the late 2000s were still going a little bit, and that vision was a vision. But I don't think there were any real users for that site at the time. I think it was more of a vision. This is meeting market demand. This is what retailers, prospective purchasers are looking for today. And we try to deliver a project that's I think equally as nice. It's much less intense. So our traffic numbers that we ran on this site compared to the old site is much less impactful compared to the multifamily type uses that have more cars generated than an assisted living facility. There's less square footage of retail. So there's other positive impacts of a less intense commercial area too.
Well, I'm not sure that's a positive, but when we were first talking about this, about the rezoning to commercial, it was for that very reason, because the competition for sales tax revenue is across the street in Phoenix, and there is none on the Peoria side, that there was going to be upscale shopping in this area to do that, to bring that. And I looked at the plan very carefully that when we got the packet earlier, and other than a Sonic, I don't see any retail commercial possibilities in this project. So where would the sales tax revenue come from that you were referring to?
Every parcel is permitted every parcel other than the assisted living facility, and, well, that's the only one. Every other parcel is permitted as a commercial use. So while we don't have the end user in for site plan review yet, the individual parcel developers will be coming in with their individual plans for review through the city. I can tell you that I know there's a Starbucks that's currently in the process of site plan approval right now. Sonic is in the site plan approval process, and the assisted living is in the site plan approval process. Mm-hmm. There's some other ones that I don't believe are public knowledge, and at this point are confidential, but there are people, businesses, ready to sign the contracts and go through the process, but the zoning is the first component of that.
When I look at the design on that, it looked to me like the parcels along 67th Avenue are offices, and the parcels west, the three parcels west of the Sonic were the only ones commercial. Is that correct?
That's not 100% correct. You're correct that that's kind of what we're showing on the plan right now, but at this stage of zoning, everything is conceptual. So all of those buildings are shown as conceptual at this point.
But the parcels that are on 67th Avenue have no 67th Avenue face front, right? You have to come into the complex in order to access those?
We call it driveway 2 and 3 because it corresponds to the traffic report, but the northernmost driveway, I'm going to call
I see it now.
driveway 2, yeah. Right. That would allow you to access the site there and go to that business in parcel 1, or you could come down and go to parcel 2 or 3 down there.
Okay.
And those could be medical uses or commercial uses or restaurant uses. And if there's like an outdoor dining area, for example, we'll have to come back through for a conditional use permit on one of those.
Okay. I just want to just make just a quick comment. I know that you held another neighborhood meeting last December, I believe, right? I I
Sounds
think I
about
read
right.
in the report that there was one held and about 20 people showed up, right, Sean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the people in our HOA were a little bit, they were misled a little bit because this project still had the same name. And when they saw that there was another community meeting, many of them had attended the one back in 2012 and felt they didn't really need to go because we already knew what the project was going to be about. And then total surprise now that it's completely different, a big change. So there was some discussion in my community last night about it. That's why I'm just voicing it right now. So I agree with the proposal that it does make sense to rezone this to commercial. I think that part of it, we're in agreement. I don't agree with the fact that 67th Avenue hasn't reached capacity yet. As far as traffic goes, if you live up there, believe me, it's reached capacity. You can't even get out of the neighborhoods in the morning or the afternoon. So, but I agree. I think this is probably going to generate less traffic than the original Terraza plan was going to be with more commercial. But I think that was all that I had. Thank you.
Commissioner Golden?
This is strictly a personal question. So now when I come up, when I'm going north on 67th, and then I turn right on Happy Valley, left on Happy Valley, there's no way to get to QT. And, right? You guys who do that, there's no way to get to QT. So now, with these entrances, will they go into QT? I'll be able,
What I called driveway 2 earlier, which is the north,
oh,
which
I'm
is
sorry.
the north.
He just told me he does it all the time. I thought it was illegal.
Oh, no. Right now, they have a wing road. They have what you call a wing road out there, and you can pull down in through that wing road and swing up north to QT.
Oh, and once you get into this new development.
You will be able to in this new development also, because
Okay.
we have cross-access agreements in place, and that cross-access will be was provided on the plan, but staff will require it as well.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Lewis, did you want to speak again? Oh, okay, thank you. Any other questions from the commissioners? Okay. I am now closing the public hearing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments before we vote? Okay. Do I have a motion? Go for it. Commissioner Nelson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would move that we forward a favorable recommendation to the City Council for case number GPA 150007. Is that correct? Would I have the second one as well?
I
Or
need a
separate for
second.
that?
No, can we do them both at once?
Do them individually.
Individually?
Individually?
Okay, so
Okay.
now we have a motion, now I need a second.
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Outlaski, please vote. And that passes. Okay. I am now opening public hearing. I am now opening the public hearing for 4R Z15-0011, Terrazzo Center rezoning. Do any commissioners have any other questions of staff or the applicant? If not, do I have a motion? Commissioner Nelson?
Madam Chair, I move that we forward a favorable recommendation to the City Council for case number Z150011, subject to the conditions and stipulations outlined in the staff report.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Commissioner Outlaski, seconded. Please vote. And that has passed. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. Are there any comments from the public for any non-agenda items? Seeing there are no comments on non-agenda items? Oh, do we have something? Oh, Commissioner Nelson? Oh, no, okay. That's okay, okay. Okay, we'll move to reports from staff. Do we have any reports from staff?
Thank you, Commissioner Strickman, members of the commission. Just real quick, the May 5th meeting, 2016, will be held at the usual time, 6:30 here at this location. May 19th meeting, however, has been canceled due to lack of cases.
Okay. Well, sorry about the lack of cases, but having a day off is nice. Okay, the next item is reports from Planning and Zoning Commission. Do any commissioners have anything to report or state? Commissioner Golden?
I have a question for you. More people than I would like to believe have asked me lately why this doesn't show up on Channel 11 anymore.
Yeah, I don't know.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Golden, the Planning and Zoning Commission, I think they tape it remotely, but it should be on Channel 11.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. All I know is, and I'm wondering if maybe Cox isn't carrying it or something, but my neighbors who watch this on a regular basis tell me, I know,
Yeah, I was gonna
tell me that we are not on television anymore. Well, actually, it's not we are not on television. I am not on television anymore.
I believe it's just that it's not live, correct? They're not-
Right,
They're not
right.
airing it right now.
Yeah.
They tape it, and then it'll show starting tomorrow.
That's correct.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
I was able to see the last meeting. I started it late.
But not live.
Well, you know,
Yeah,
I
but
think
I
that's
watched
the
it that
problem. I
night.
think they watch it.
Yeah.
Well, I think they're watching it live,
Okay.
right? Because I get
Yeah.
calls on the way home.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, I do have a question. The corner of Happy Valley and Lake Pleasant, I had always heard a Fry's was going in, then I saw it was taken off. What's happened to the potential Fry's?
Madam Chair, at Fry's, Lake Pleasant and Happy Valley, the north of the northeast corner, there is a Fry's going in there.
It's still going, okay.
Yeah, it's under construction at this time. They have the construction fences up now.
Okay, good, okay. Well, I saw that, but then I saw on the information that we get from staff that the Fry's on the agenda was canceled, so that's why I was curious about it.
Madam Chair, members of the commission, on our development summary, we show, you might recall when the case first came in, it was a different location. So that case was withdrawn. And what we try to do is depict cases within the last 3 months, and that one probably shouldn't have been on there. So I think we'll make sure that's off.
Okay, that's why I got confused.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no more comments, I am going to call this meeting adjourned. Thank you.